And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented Yahweh that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And Yahweh said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I have made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man, and perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with God. And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. But as the days of Noe were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noe entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
The truth is that most of you are Epsteins, just minus the money. That's a fact. It's like when I was talking about Diddy last time, when the Diddy case was going on. This is the lifestyle, and this is the behavior that your culture applauds, and it endorses, and it teaches you to aspire to. I mean, most people are not going to go through the Epstein files to think about this. They're not going through the Epstein files to try to investigate, the possible architecture of private sector influence that he supposedly operated. They're not looking for that. What are they looking for? They're looking for salacious details about girls and about sex and about sadism and whatnot. Sex parties. That's what you're doing. Scouring through, trying to find the most lurid, the most lecherous, the most depraved information that you can, because you have an appetite for that. The truth is, you're not outraged, you're stimulated. Your whole culture is obsessed with this kind of thing. And your rich people, like I say, they're no different from you. They just have money. They just have the money and they have the power to live out what is actually, in reality, your collective fantasy in the West. And when 1 or 2 women who are victimized, 1 or 2 women who are victimized from the multitude of women who were involved, when victims come forward, because their fantasy actually has consequences on real people when you actually live it out in real life. The fantasy has victims. So when the victims come forward, then you express shock and you express outrage, which, if truth be told, is driven more by envy than by anything like a genuine conscience. And now you get to be the self-righteous mob, with your torches and pitchforks, storming the palace of the debauched aristocracy, whose lives and whose lifestyles you wish you had, but you don't have. And that's what makes you angry. I mean, be serious. How many music videos, think about this, how many music videos have you seen that are not set in a mansion or by a pool or on an island where you have some male performer who's absolutely submerged in an ocean of scantily clad women who are framed in that video as party favorites? No, you're hypocrites. You're hypocrites. You approve of that fantasy, you promote that fantasy, and you know perfectly well that the rich can and do live out this fantasy in real life, and it's all completely approved of, and it's all completely encouraged and aspired to in popular culture, because your popular culture is continuously in puberty. I said your popular culture is a teenage boy. No, Epstein came from your culture. Clinton came from your culture. Musk, Gates, Summers, whoever else. Yes, everybody knew what Epstein was doing. No question about it. Of course they knew what he was doing. They were doing it too. And they still are. None of these people needed Jeffrey Epstein to provide this kind of thing for them. He was just one of their own, doing what they all do, and living out your collective Western degenerate fantasy. That's a fact. I've talked about this before. We all know you're like this. Everyone in the world knows that you're like this. You can act shocked, you can act disgusted as much as you want, but no one believes you. No one believes you who knows anything at all about your culture, who knows anything at all about your history, and who knows anything at all from their direct experience of your character. You were like this in every country. You were like this in every country that you invaded and that you colonized. You were like this on your plantations. Yes, you lived out your fantasy, your Epsteinian fantasy, with African women on your plantations. I said the founding fathers of your country are the original Epstein list. So what are you talking about? You lived out your fantasy in Congo. You lived out your fantasy in Kenya, in Namibia, in Algeria, in the Philippines, in Korea, all across Indochina. You lived out that fantasy in Haiti, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Now, you've been Epstein all around the world, and you're Epstein right now. In fact, your whole population, you don't want to hear it, but it's true, your whole population is either an Epstein, a pre-Epstein, or a wannabe Epstein. And that's the most interesting thing about this whole thing to me, to be honest. This is actually the most interesting thing. The absurd performance of moral outrage. You do it all the time. And you act as if Epstein is unique. And again, it's just like what you do with Hitler. You know, the brand name of absolute evil is Hitler, even though he was absolutely par for the course as a Western leader. Hitler wasn't special, and neither was Epstein. They're par for the course. But you have to make these selective villains, you know, these selective villains who are entirely, actually, in reality, run-of-the-mill. But you have to make these selective villains tokens of evil that you can hate, precisely so that you can deny how run-of-the-mill they are. You have to prove how good you are by how much you revile them. You need to prove that these people are absolute anomalies, that they're abnormalities, that they're distinctly vile and distinctly repulsive, so that you can obscure how common and unremarkable their vileness and their repulsiveness in your society actually is. Even though, like I said, they're living the lifestyle and engaging in the behaviors that your mainstream popular culture upholds as living the dream. I mean, this is the official aspirational lifestyle goal of your whole society. But now you want us to believe that someone who is actually living that dream, that collective, Western, perverted, degenerate dream, is some sort of a freak anomaly, and you're horrified.
Another video.
Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai Ba, Racha HaKodash, Kol Thapa Arath, Hawad Wahaloyim, Rawatam Yatla, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai Ba, Racha HaKodash. And what I just said in the Lashon Kodash being the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, or in other words, the true biblical Hebrew for holy tongue or language. And what I just said is, all glory, honor, and praises abundantly and continuously to our power, Yahweh, the true name of our Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls God, in the name of His only begotten Son, our Savior, our Messiah, our Deliverer, Yahweh Shai, HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls Jesus Christ, in, or in other words, through the Holy Spirit. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and respect to the brothers teaching and pushing this truth out the four corners of the earth, to the hopeful elect, the 144,000 and the 1/3, as well as the rest of the elect scattered abroad amongst the heathen nations to the four corners of the earth, east, north, south, and west. To you I say, Shalom. This is your brother Ra'ib Tazadakwa coming back at you again, all through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, with another lesson. Yahweh Ratazah, Yahweh willing, is going to be edifying and encouraging for you, Achim, brothers, and any Achwath, sisters, that may be listening and or watching. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is get the fair use disclaimer. You can see there from the screen, the video, that this has been taken originally off of TikTok, so I can't give credit to whoever put it together. I don't know the original source, but I'm borrowing it from the Elder Manatazak Ba, GMS South Carolina 08 is his YouTube handle, and the title is Epstein Files: Americans Have Selective Moral Outrage and Are Sinful Hypocrites. And we're, that first part is good, the selective moral outrage, but we're really focusing in on that sinful hypocrites. Okay, we're really zeroing in on that and building on that. Using that as our launching pad, or our diving board into this lesson series. But we're going into other things as well, but we're continuing to highlight the hypocrisy of America, Babylon the Great, which that statement is synonymous and identical to the hypocrisy of Esau, Edom, who is the so-called white man, the biblical Edomites, the so-called white man, generally speaking. Not in all cases, but generally speaking, that's who it is. The Caucasians, okay? Not every Caucasian is an Edomite. Not every Edomite looks like a so-called white person. but that is their normal general way of looking in accordance with Genesis 25 and 25, which you can link directly with Isaiah 1 and 18, and also Genesis 6 and 4, which will also reveal to you that, and then you can go ahead and put that with 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3 as well, because that reveals to you that the rider on the red horse is linked up with the man that was born, came out red all over like a hairy garment. And then you put that with Isaiah 1 and 18, and you see why the Most High made him red, because this is the man of sin. Putting that with 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3, the son of perdition. Bring in Romans the 9th chapter, the vessels of wrath, fitted, meaning created for, made to be destroyed. The vessels of wrath fitted for destruction, which goes back to 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3, which is the son of perdition, one of his titles, one of the titles of his whole nation. Okay, because Esau is Edom. So the whole nation can be referred to as Esau. And the Bible does that, and it'll say, see, the man of sin, the son of perdition. It's talking about one man, must be the Antichrist, right? You know, and you get confused by that because, see, you fail to recognize that a whole nation can be referred to in the singular, even though you do recognize it in other places, because it's more obvious. The nation of Israel is referred to as Jacob, okay? And people are usually able to distinguish when it's talking about the actual literal man Jacob, you know, our great forefather Jacob, or whether it's talking about the nation of Israel as Jacob. People are usually able to discern that and distinguish that, but then they see son of perdition, the man of sin, and they think that they automatically assume it's talking about one literal man and not a whole nation. It is one man, but it's also a nation, because the one man is Esau, and from Esau comes the whole nation of Esau, Edom. So fair use is allowed under U.S. law for educational, commentary, criticism purposes, and the like. That's, of course, what we're using this clip for, not profiting from it in any way, shape, fashion, or form. I've already given credit to the brother, the elder brother that I borrowed it from, GMS South Carolina 08. Berenstain files. I'm going to try to use that to avoid any algorithms. Berenstain files, Americans have, which Americans would be synonymous with Babylonians, also synonymous with Egyptians, also synonymous with Sodomites and Gomorrahites, or however you pronounce that. Okay, because these are all, when it comes to prophecy, code for America, Babylon the Great today. Okay, Ninevites, all right, and Assyrians, Chaldeans, etc. These are some of the, Basraites. These are some of the prophetic code names, or code names is a good way to put it, used to refer to America, Babylon the Great. The scriptures are written in code, and America wasn't even a name or around. So the scriptures would not refer to this nation today, this place today, this country today as America, because it wasn't even called America. It wasn't even in existence. Okay, and it wasn't, the land was known of, but the land was not called the Americas until during the Renaissance. Okay, when I don't know the exact time when Amerigo Vespucci took credit for it, but it was during the Renaissance, right? So we talking, you know, I don't know, 500-600 years ago or something like that. Because before that, this land was known about, talking about North, Central, and South America, it was known about, but it was referred to as the ends of the earth. That's what it was referred to as. And it was also referred to as the fourth part of the earth. And I think there was another title for it as well. But those are two of the titles, because it was referred to as the fourth part of the earth, or fourth part of the world, and the ends of the earth. And also there was another title, which I don't remember right now. Okay, but it wasn't called America. It wasn't called the Americas, North, Central, and South. Okay, so of course the scriptures would not, you're not going to find any scripture where this land is referred to, or this nation, this country here, Babylon the Great, America, is going to be referred to by that name, because that name didn't come about until, like, let's say, 1500, something like that, years, over 1,000 years after the scriptures were completed. That's why it's mystery Babylon the Great in Revelation 17. Mystery. Not much of a mystery if you call it out by name. Okay, mystery Babylon the Great. Okay, so fair use notice is given. Fair use is allowed. Fair use notice is given. And this is part 4 in an ongoing lesson series, Barakatha Yahweh Shem Shah 1441. And that's 144, going right and left, which right is the correct way to read. Okay, we read backwards here in America, Babylon the Great, with this one of the worst languages ever, which is English. Okay, and then you have you know, there's a reason why the wicked use English, and they also like that Latin too, right? And the Latin goes back to the Roman Empire, okay, all right, which is the dragon spoken of in the book of Revelation, okay, because this is it talks about the dragon gave. Let me just get that real quick because I don't want to butcher the wording, okay. And I'm not gonna get into this too much. You can read. We actually touched on this in part 2. So if you want more on this, check out part 2. Okay. I just want to get this one part. Yeah. This is the verse 2. No. Yeah. That's it. Salakia. And the beast which I saw was likened to a leopard. We broke this down in part 2. I'm not going to break it down now. I just want to come for this last part. And his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth is the mouth of a lion. And the dragon, referring to the ancient Roman Empire, gave him, the beast, his power, because this is the revived Roman Empire. That's why the dragon, the ancient Roman Empire, gave the beast his power and his seat and great authority, because this is Rome all over again. Okay, back bigger and better than ever. This time worldwide. The ancient Roman Empire was not worldwide. This time the Roman Empire is worldwide. And they have all kinds of crazy technology, much more than you know, beyond what you know, because they don't divulge it to the public, are at their disposal to do crazy things that they could never do before. Okay? It's worldwide. And the capital city this time is much, much bigger and much, much more powerful, which is America. America is Rome 2.0, and this time the revived Roman Empire is worldwide. Okay, so I just wanted to touch on that since it came up in the spirit. I didn't mean to go that way. I wanted to get. Let me see here. I thought I was. Yeah. We can be there. So I wanted to say that. Yeah, I wanted to also show you the other parts. One of them I have not premiered yet. I will be premiering it shortly. Salakia for the flipping. And that's not what I'm hitting.
You ain't getting out yet?
I'm hitting the wrong buttons. Okay. Let me see here. That's what I'm trying to hit right there. Salakia for that. And no, that's the wrong place. I'm all over. I'm doing all kinds of wrong things here. All right, so here. Yeah, here we go. This is part 4. You see, America, the most hypocritical nation ever, and we went into a lot of precepts, hour and 20 minutes long, right? But the main central focus precept passage was Job the 20th chapter, and then in part 2, which is here at the top, we went into Job 30, and we also went into Revelation 18, Revelation 17, Revelation 13, in that order. And then here in part 3, which I have not taken live yet, which I will do tomorrow before the live stream, we went into, I forget the other passages we went into. I can't remember off the top. We always go into a bunch of precept passages, right? But the main one we were digging in towards the end is Wisdom of Solomon 12. And we're going to touch on that again tonight, Yahweh Desire, subject to time. And then we're going to be getting into Genesis. And so we're going to start off in Genesis, because I opened up with the Genesis, tying that with the Matthew 24. And then we're going to go to Wisdom of Solomon 12 and come back to Genesis again. And that's all I intend to get for this lesson series. If I finish that tonight, then that'll be it. If not, then there'll be another part. Okay? So if you want to get the whole lesson series, which I encourage you to do, then there it is. Now, this guy here, who I believe is AI, okay, until proven otherwise, he's AI to me for various reasons, and I'm not going to go into him again. I've already touched on him before, but I don't know that for a fact, but I just really strongly suspect that this dude is AI. But whether he is or he isn't, a lot of the things that he says and a lot of the things that he goes into are on point, pointing you in the right direction. They're good to, basically bring edification out with. Okay, a lot of the things he's saying is good. Okay, it's true. It's true, right? But I do have one bone to pick with him, because he referred to the founding fathers of America, Babylon the Great, as being the original Berenstain Files list. And he said that because of what they were doing to who he referred to as African women. African women. But they were not African women. So AI dude here is wrong about that. And like I said, I really think this dude is AI. Okay. Camera angles, always wearing the same thing, always the same style of video. Weird camera angles, even though they're interviewing them right up close and personal. You got like 4 or 5 different camera angles on this one dude, all up in his face. I mean, how many cameras you got on this one dude? Okay, and he's always dressed the same, always the same backdrop, always the same. I think he's AI. I think he's a very good AI, but if they really wanted to sell it, they should have mixed up the setting a little bit more and, just done some other things. But I think this dude's AI. But whether he is or he's not, he brings out good things. Okay, he's saying good things. They're true. He's making good points is what I'm really trying to say. He makes a lot of good points, but he's wrong about identifying the women that were rounded up and brought over here and put in hardcore slavery by the Edomites. He's wrong about identifying them as African women. They were the daughters of Zion of the Southern Kingdom, and before they were getting raped and all manner of wickedness done to them, adultery and all kinds of things done to them. It was being done to the daughters of Zion of the Northern Kingdom, which were already over here in the Americas. And on top of that, they were doing all manner of debauchery, not only to the daughters of Zion, not only to the daughters of Zion, but not only to the daughters of Zion that were of age, okay, because they wasn't really pushing this legal age of 18 like that, okay, back then, right? And if you talk to your family members and you go back a couple of generations, certainly 3 generations, like your great grandmother, maybe even your grandmother, but certainly your great grandmother if she's still around, or a great aunt if she was still around, something like that, they'll tell you that oftentimes they'll tell you that they got married and started having babies at 13, 14, 15. Okay, and that was not that uncommon, even in America, Babylon the Great, a few generations ago. And it's still being done all around the world in various different places. Even here in America, Babylon the Great, today, every state has its own legal age of marriage. And a lot of them are less than 18. Okay, a lot of them are. Some of them are as low as 14 with parental consent. Okay. But not only so just showing you all the hypocrisy, because he's all over the place. Okay. And he knows that a woman is a woman when she reaches the flower of her age, meaning when she has her first menstrual cycle. But yet he sets this arbitrary age of 18, and then he pushes it that if you're doing it, he pushes that any female that's younger than that is a child. Although he tells you that she's not in his pop culture, in his own pop culture, he'll put that. He'll put that and let you know that a girl who reaches the flower of her age and has her first menstrual cycle is a woman. He'll put it in his pop culture, but as far as what he officially pushes, she's a child, and anyone who does anything to her is worthy of getting thrown under the prison. Meanwhile, he sets up a society where these young women are able to just go out and be whores and sluts and sleep with whoever and whatever, starting in middle school, all through, men, women, boys, girls, everything, starting in middle school rather, all through high school, all through college, into the beginning of their careers, and then when they're about in their 30s somewhere, now they want to put on white and become a wife. Please, man, don't make me throw up, okay? So again, this is the hypocrisy of this man, okay? The righteous way, okay, for a young woman who reached the flower of her age to be given away in marriage at a young age, because that's the righteous way, that's vilified, demonized, persecuted, right? But the wicked way, which is to turn her into a whore and a slut and a harlot, that's protected, that's promoted, that's applauded, that's socially acceptable. That's looked at as good, right? But getting back to the founding fathers, not only were they doing these things to the daughters of Zion that were of age, and the correct age is reaching the flower of their age, but they were doing it to children as well, all the way down to freshly popped out of the womb babies. Okay? But not only females, look, these are the Greeks. These are the boy lovers. Okay? So if you'll recall, it's still going on. Okay? The Roman Catholic Church, which is the false prophet that the scripture speaks about, and all its daughter churches as well. Okay? They are how do I want to say this? They are well known for their affinity for boys. Okay? So it wasn't just the daughters of Zion that were of age. It wasn't just the daughters of Zion that were underage. This is what I'm showing you. It wasn't just the daughters of Zion that were underage that were still able to walk on their own 2 feet, because you can get pretty young with that, but even young babies. Daughters of Zion. But it wasn't just females. It was the males as well. All the way down to, fully grown men. Okay? Fully grown men in hardcore slavery, all the way down to males that are freshly popped out of the womb. Babies on up. Okay? Babies on up. Okay? And so much more. So much more. I'm not going to get all into it because I want to get into the Genesis, right? But they were doing these things not only to the daughters of Zion of all ages, they were doing it to the men of the nation of Israel as well, of all ages, the sons of God as well, of all ages. Okay? So I do have that bone to pick with Mr. AI here. Mr. AI, who I believe he's AI until proven otherwise, he's wrong about identifying them as as African women. Okay, they were the daughters of Zion of the southern kingdom. That's who he's talking about. Okay, and everything he was going into here is all crimes and things that Esau Edom is guilty of. Okay, this is his watch. This is his rulership. He's in charge of the planet right now. Daniel 4:17, Job 9:24. And everything that he was saying, all those names, he mentioned Gates, he mentioned Clinton, he mentioned somebody else. They're all Edomites. He mentioned the founding fathers, all Edomites. He mentioned colonizing the world. You're Berenstain all around the world. Okay, but who's colonized the world? Has the so-called Chinese man colonized the world? No. Has the so-called has the Arabs have they colonized the world? No. Has any other nation the Israelites certainly didn't colonize the world. That would be us. So who's the only man that's colonized the world? The Edomites. Everything he was going into here is an indictment against the Edomites. That's why the title is America, the most hypocritical nation ever. But when you say America, that you can take out America and put in Esau Edom, the biblical Edomites, the most hypocritical nation ever. So I just wanted to highlight that. Now, this Genesis here, I opened up with this Genesis and then I directly linked it with the Matthew 24 because we are in the days of Noah all over again. And it tells you right here that it's just before the return of the Son of Man, who is Yahushua Mashiach, just before he comes back, it's going to be just like it was in the days of Noah. Okay? And we're in those days. And what happened? What happened when it got like that? Well, our Father Yahweh destroyed the world with water. He destroyed the world with water. Okay? And right up until he did, everybody was going on with business as usual. And they had no clue. Verse 39, no clue until the flood came and took them all away. It's the same thing here. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Because the coming of the Son of Man is directly linked. Wait a minute. Let me go ahead and say it. It's directly linked with the second death. And if there's a second death, then there has to be a first death. And yeah, that was the time of Noah. The first death was the flood by water. The second death is by fire. And it is directly linked with the coming of the Son of Man, Yahushua Mashiach. Meaning, in other words, the second death is simultaneous with the return of Yahushua Mashiach. And it talks about that up here. Okay? And I'm just going to get the point here. Okay? 29 and 30. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened. Why? Why is the sun darkened? And the moon shall not give her light. Why is the moon not giving its light? And the stars shall fall from heaven right? Well, this is manifold here. Those stars falling from heaven are not literal stars. And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. The powers of the heavens, those that are in rulership. This is the metaphoric heaven. Metaphoric heaven. All right? The stars shall fall from heaven. Okay? That is manifold, because you got two right there. You got the stars falling from the literal heaven, which is one of the three literal heavens, which is this atmosphere, the sky. Okay? Those stars are metaphoric stars, but those metaphoric stars is actually talking about the missiles, the warheads to be exact. The missiles, the warheads, bringing the thermonuclear destruction. But this is also manifold because those stars can also be likened unto those that are in rulership. They do call those in Hollywood, they call them stars, right? Or even in sports and other areas or avenues of entertainment, they call them stars. You know, he's a star, she's a star, she's a superstar, he's a superstar, right? And when this kingdom goes down, this heaven, this rulership goes down, they're going down as well. But on the highest level, this is talking about the thermonuclear missiles, or the warheads to be specific, and they're going to bring that thermonuclear destruction, hundreds of millions of thermonuclear mushroom clouds, massive ones. And that's the reason why, in accordance with Acts 2, 27, 28, 29, Joel 2, Acts 2, 17, 18, and 19, and Joel 2, 28, 29, and 30, that many people all around the world, all different nations, are having visions and dreams of the thermonuclear destruction and other end-time biblical prophecies that are related to it, okay? Because all the end-time biblical prophecies are being fulfilled right now, underway, in progress, okay? And so that's the reason why these people are having so many of these dreams and visions. I just did a lesson series. I'll show it to you if I still have it up, going into that. And in one of them, I played a video of a woman going into a dream and a vision she had of absolute destruction here in America, Babylon the Great. And she saw, it was this lesson series here. I can't remember which part it was. It was either 12, 13, or 15, one of those two. And she saw a massive thermonuclear mushroom cloud. Hey, the Achwath that gets edified by me, and she comes out from time to time, she had a dream seeing a massive thermonuclear mushroom cloud right here in Lexington, Kentucky, after she prayed and asked the Heavenly Father to show her the truth of the matter of something that I had said. And that night, he gave her that dream and that vision of a massive thermonuclear mushroom cloud to answer her prayer. And the setting of it was right here in Lexington, Kentucky. And she had the exact same dream back to back the very next night, carbon copy. And that was her answer to prayer. And he gave it to her twice for confirmation. But I mean, once is good, okay? Especially since it was an answer to her prayer when she went to bed. Okay, so okay, but that verse 29 is the thermonuclear destruction. That is the second death. And immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened and the moon shall not give her light, because there's so many thermonuclear mushroom clouds putting up millions and millions and millions and billions, probably, because so many trillions, quadrillions, who knows, of tons of soot and ash and smoke and dust up into the air, the atmosphere. That's why. Okay, the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. That's the missiles, again, the warheads to be specific, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Yeah, they're going to be shaken and destroyed and cast down. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, Daniel the 7th chapter. And then shall appear right at that time. So at the time that this is happening, at the time that verse 29 is being fulfilled, at the time of the thermonuclear destruction, and then that same time, all right, shall appear the sign of the Son of Man. Some of the missiles will be detonating. Others will still be en route. Others will still be on their way to their target. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. That's the reason why Yahweh Shah Mashiach says this in Luke 12 and what's that, 49? That's why he says this. I am come, you see the red letter there. I am come to send fire on the earth. That's what he's coming to do. And what will I if it be already kindled? Okay? And it will already be kindled when he gets here, because you're going to have conventional fires, because this wars is already going to be going on, but you're going to be having the thermonuclear destruction take place, which is the second death. Okay? The second death will already be underway. It'll be in progress when Yahweh Shai comes, when he returns. Okay, again, getting back to this Matthew 24, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man, Yahushua Mashiach is his name, coming in the clouds, meaning the chariots, the vehicles, Marakabium of the fourth dimension, the vehicles of the spiritual realm. Okay, what the world calls UFOs and UAPs, with power and great glory. Okay. And if you want an idea how much glory, you ain't going to get a full understanding. But if you want an idea, 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, start at verse 1. Okay. Revelation 19:11 on down. Isaiah 63 started 1 going down. Okay. And deliverance and salvation for the elect is verse 31. But I just wanted to tie that in because as the days of Noah were, and we're in those days, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. How you know we in those days, right? We're about to go read it. I mean, what rock are you living under? But we're about to go read it. But as the days of Noah, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. And so if the days that we're in now are likened unto and identical to the days of Noah, right? Then that means that that we're in the return of we're in the time of the return of the Son of Man. And if we're in the time of the return of the Son of Man, then we're also in the time of the thermonuclear destruction, which is the second death. And all of those are the case. All of those are true. So let's go over to Genesis and let's read about it. Okay? Let's read about it. Genesis 6 again. We don't have to get the whole precept again. We can just jump around a little bit. Okay? But we see here in verse 5 that Yahweh, that's why God is in all caps, because it is his name Yahweh. Okay? They give you the tetragrammaton, right? YHWH. Well, you just need to put A's between those letters there, and you got his name, Yahweh. Okay? And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth. Got to put a precept with that. 2nd Ezra 15, 5 and 6. Okay? What about now, though? What about now? Okay? Behold, saith Ha'adawan. Okay? And I'm not going to get this because I want to, this is end time biblical prophecy, man. Okay? Heavy end time biblical prophecies. Okay? All right? Let me see here. Look at this. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. What planet you live on? For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. Whose destruction? Those that live on planet Earth, the world. When has this ever been fulfilled? Tell me. Tell me. Okay, you know it hasn't. This is end time biblical prophecy. And where are we? We're in the end times. And one people shall stand up and fight against another and swords in their hands. Okay? And you keep going on down. Okay? All right? And this is heavy end time biblical prophecy. All of this. Okay? And continuing on into chapter 16. But I just want to show you this because it links up to what we just read. Okay? Behold, saith Ha'adawan, I will bring plagues, meaning all manner of judgments. Okay? All manner of judgments upon the world, the planet, meaning the people of the planet, the nations of the earth, all of them. Okay? You cannot at all in any way, shape, fashion, or form mistake this for being a prophecy referring to any other time. You cannot in any way, shape, fashion, or form mistake this for a prophecy that has been fulfilled already. Because this is worldwide judgment. And the only other worldwide judgment was the flood. And there ain't nothing talking about water here. It's talking about sword, famine, death, and destruction. So this isn't a punishment upon the world by water. That's all done. Okay? Esdras came along well after that. Esdras was on the scene about 500 years before Yahushua. Flood was already, well in the past. Okay? Behold, saith the Adawan, I will bring plagues upon the world, all the nations of the earth, the sword, all manner of violence, war. Okay? On all levels. In the home, in the streets, in the city, in the state, in the nation, around the world. Famine. Okay? Hey, the United Nations have been warning of famines of biblical proportions for quite some time. Death. Great death. Okay? Verse 18, the beginning of sorrows and great, extreme, and severe mournings. The beginning of famine and great death, extreme death, severe death. Okay? I gotta give credit to Nate, the Canadian prepper. He said we're in the time of the giga death, which giga means 10 to the ninth. 10 times 10 to 10 to the ninth. All right, which is billions. Death by the billions. And he's right. Extreme and severe death, the beginning of wars, and the powers, those in rulership, so stand in fear. The beginning of evils. Very, very bad times. Ezekiel, the 7th chapter. What shall I do when these evils shall come? And he knew when the evils were coming. He knew they were coming in about 2,500 years because he asked and he was told the answer. So he knew it was coming like 2,500, roughly years in the future. And he was concerned about what he was going to do and how he was going to get deliverance and salvation for his household, because he understood something that you probably don't understand, but you better understand it. Reincarnation is biblical. Okay? He knew that. Not Ezekiel, 2nd Ezra, the 14th chapter is where he asked what the timing was going to be of these things, and he was given the answer. So he knew it wasn't in his lifetime. Okay? Because that's what people, he just thought it was going to be in his lifetime. No, he didn't. He asked, and he was told the answer. Okay? About 2,500 years in the future. Okay? And by the way, that's right here, right now. We're there. That's the time we're in. Okay? We're at the end of the period of time for the age of the Gentiles, the kingdom of the Gentiles. We're at the end of the time of the Gentiles. Okay? All right. So Ezra was on the scene about 2,500 years ago, and he was told these things would be fulfilled about 2,500 years in the future. All right? When you understand when you understand the answer that was given to him. Okay? Verse 6. Back over in 15. Verse 6. For wickedness hath exceedingly, okay? Wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth. I would say that qualifies for, being just like in the times of Noah, maybe even a little greater, okay? This is the world we live in today. We live in a world where wickedness is exceedingly polluted this whole earth, okay? Saturated with wickedness. That's the world we live in. Okay? And the hurtful works are fulfilled. It's the limit. The Most High set a limit, and that's it. Time to judge. Time to bring the judgment. Okay? So when we go over here, see, it links right up. And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth. Hey, well, sounds like it's just like in the time of Noah. Maybe even worse. And Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. That's how it is today. This is how bad it is. Even with things that you would think are good, that you would think are righteous. Because this is the world we live in. So you would say, well, there's some good in the world. Even the things that you would say is good, that's evil too. Because this is the world we live in. We live in upside down, backwards, bizarre world. You didn't know that? Whoa. Unto them that call evil good. This is the world we live in. You've been born and raised in it, steeped in it. That's why you don't even recognize it. And good, evil. Upside down, backwards, bizarre world. That put darkness for light and light for darkness. That put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. That's the world we live in. Okay? And you can get so much more here, but I'm gonna let me get out of here. Okay? Let me see here. So, Genesis 6 and 5, that's the world we live in today. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. And so how is it today? Just like it was in the days of Noah. I'm getting a vibe that is worse. And it repented Yahweh, okay, so the Most High was like, I regret making these wicked creatures, right? And Yahweh said, I will destroy man. Yeah, and that's ultimately what he did. But I want to focus in on this 8. But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh, because Noah Noah was a representation of the elect in this time. Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh, and he was delivered. He was rescued. He was saved from the first death. He was delivered. He was rescued, and he was saved from that great, massive judgment. Okay? Just as the elect are going to be in this day. Then it was just him. Okay? You say, well, no, it was his sons too, and their wives. Well, they were just with him. They were along for the ride. Okay? The Most High could have just saved Noah, and of course he's going to need a wife to bring forth children with. So he could have just saved Noah and his wife, because Shem, Ham, and Japheth could have been born after the flood. But the Most High had it set up that Shem, Ham, and Japheth were already of age and had wives of their own. He just had it set up that way. It really was about saving Noah. It really is about Noah. They just were his sons, so they got saved with him, and then their wives got saved with him. But it was really about Noah. Hebrews 11 chapter and the 7th verse tells you that. Noah prepared an ark to the saving of his house. Okay? All right? If any of them had rebelled and not stuck with their father, they wouldn't have made it. But the Most High had it set up that they did make it. And then the whole earth was repopulated through Noah, through Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and through Noah, through Shem, Ham, and Japheth, all the nations that had been destroyed in the flood, because they all were wiped out. Okay, only the righteous line was left, which is Noah, and then Noah and his 3 sons. Only the righteous line was left, and then through them came back all the nations that had been wiped out. Okay, they all got a reset. Okay, and then one of the nations. Well, you do have, what was that? Genesis, the 19th chapter, you got Moab and Ammon come on the scene. And then in Genesis 25, you got Esau, the Edomites come back on the scene. Okay? Because they didn't come back on the scene right away. The Edomites came back on the scene in Genesis 25. Okay? Which is what we're going to be touching on here tonight. Okay? But Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh. So Noah found grace during the time of the first death, and he was delivered from it. He got salvation from it. Okay, he had to do something. He had to bring forth fruits, meat for repentance. He had to bring forth works along with his faith to prove that his faith was real, to perfect his faith, and he did. Of course, he did. Right, and that's the same with the elect today. Okay, the 144,000 and the friends of the prophets, and we can just touch on this real quick with 2 Peter 2, and we can get straight to the point. Okay. And it was the same thing you see here in verse 5. It's talking about Noah. Okay. And spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the 8th person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. And then with Sodom and Gomorrah, for the sake of time, just verse 7. I'll leave 6 on the screen if you want to read it. And delivered just Lot. It doesn't mean only Lot, although it was only Lot, right? And those that were with him. Again, it was all about delivering Noah. And then it was all about delivering Lot, because they're representing the elect in this time. And this here with Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed, that's a foreshadowing of the second death. Okay? The first death by water. The second death by fire. Hey, you're going to get a sneak peek. Okay? Not really a sneak peek. You're going to get a foreshadowing. You're going to get an example of it on a low scale. Because the actual second death, when it comes, it's massive. This whole entire land, okay? All right, like 6,000 square miles. I said 6,000, Slovakia. 6 million square miles, okay? Approximately. 6 million square miles. 6 million approximately square miles. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 666 million square miles. Okay, whatever. But 600 approximately 600 million square miles. Okay, all of it. Every square inch is going to be consumed in thermonuclear fire. And that's why John in the Isle of Patmos, when he saw the vision of the destruction of America, Babylon the Great, he referred to it because he saw it from an aerial view, like way up in the sky, and it looked like a lake of fire, and that's why he called it that. And when I said that, when the Achwath was out there getting edified one day, and I said that to an Israelite that stopped to listen, and I told him that the very spot that he's standing on will be consumed by thermonuclear fire, she didn't understand that the whole land would be destroyed. She thought the land would be destroyed, but there'd be some places that weren't burnt. And so she asked the father to show her whether or not what I said was true or not, that the whole entire land is going to be consumed with fire, right? And he gave her that answer that very night when she went to sleep by showing her the very spot where I preached. I wasn't there in her vision. By showing her the very spot that I preach at, and she saw the Chase building that is like right adjacent to where I stand, and over the left corner or left shoulder of the building, off in the distance, was a massive thermonuclear mushroom cloud. And she said that the surrounding area started to catch on fire and her vision ended. And then she had the exact same vision dream the next night. Acts 2, 17, 18, 19, Joel 2, 28, 29, 30. Social media is littered with that, okay? And other prophecies too, okay? So, okay? And delivered just Lot, meaning righteous Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. That's us in this day. For that righteous man dwelleth among them in seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. That's the elect in this day. That's the men of the Lord, the prophets. That's 144,000. That's the friends of the prophets. That's us, the elect. And here's the point. Adawan knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. Right. Because just as he delivered in the same manner that he delivered and saved Lot, remember the angels told Lot, we cannot destroy this place until you get out. Hurry up, Lot. And Lot was taking too long, so they just grabbed Lot up. They just grabbed Lot out. They grabbed him up and got him out of there because he was taking too long. Okay, because they can't destroy, the righteous cannot be caught up in these judgments. Noah is an example of that. Lot's an example of that. Noah's safe, and those that are with him. Okay, Lot's safe, and those that are with him. Is that all? Y'all sure don't want to come? Then you ain't coming. Okay, then. All right, stay here and get destroyed. Then you could have came because you're family, right? But you ain't coming. Okay, fine, right? And those that are with him, right? And then once they are safe, once they are rescued, then the destruction comes. Okay, and this time, you notice how with Lot, it was a sense of urgency with that. With Noah, not so much, because they went into the ark and Yahweh shut the door, and then like 7 days later, the first drops fell and the fountains of the deep burst, right? So it's a little bit more of a relaxed timetable, but with Lot, it was a great sense of urgency. And the angels were like, hurry up, Lot. You got to hurry up and get out of here. You can read the account. Hurry up. Lot was taking too long. They grabbed him up and got him out of there because that fire came. I think it even says, if my memory serves correctly, that same hour. I want to see now. I want to find out now. Let me finish this. For that, Yahweh, no, I think I did. I finished it. I want to read that now because that wording is key. I think it's Genesis 18. Not 18. What chapter is that? Yeah, 19, I think it is. You can read the whole account, okay? Because this is a foreshadowing of the second death, which is the time we're in. Because we're in the time of the coming of the Son of Man. How do we know it? Because it's just like it was in the time in the days of Noah. So if today is like the time of Noah, then that means we're in the time of the return of the Son of Man, and the return of the Son of Man, Yahweh Mashiach, is simultaneous with the thermonuclear destruction. See, hasty, hurry up. Okay, the NLT puts it this way, but hurry. Okay, hasty, hurry up. Escape thither, for I cannot do, these were angels speaking to Lot, for I cannot do anything till thou become thither. Okay, in other words, I can't destroy this place until you're safe. Hurry up. Okay, let me see here. Salaki, bear with me, I'm just perusing here. I think I went down too far. Yeah, okay, I went down too far. See, verse 16. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, Yahweh being merciful unto them, because he was taking too long, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. And it must be a different precept where it says that very hour. I think it is. And I'm curious about it now. Let me find it. Okay, the word that it uses is not hour, it's day. Okay, but the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. But this word for day here also goes into time. All right. And it's been translated. I hit the wrong thing there. It's been translated to time as well. Let's get it real quick. I just want to show you that, because remember, there was a sense of urgency. Right. If it was going to be some hours later or something like that, then why did the angels had to grab him up? Okay, and that's a picture of our deliverance right now. That's why, as it is written, yet shall the righteous scarcely be saved. Okay, because Yahweh Shai Hamashiach is coming back to do 2 things simultaneously, and the third, is going to be ongoing. Destroy the kingdoms of the heathen nations, bring an end to the time of the Gentiles. Okay, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, it's fulfilled. Okay. And he's gonna completely destroy their kingdoms, and so that's why he says, I am come to bring fire on the earth, right? But what will if it be already kindled, right? So he's coming to do that and simultaneously deliver the elect. So you got to understand that while the missiles are dropping, if he's coming when the missiles are dropping, and he's delivering us, then we're going to be getting delivered while the missiles are dropping. Yet shall the righteous scarcely be saved. That very same hour that the missiles are dropping, because it's only going to take an hour. Okay, Revelation the 9th chapter, Revelation the 18th chapter. Okay, so it only takes an hour. It's only going to take an hour to destroy this place by thermonuclear fire. And while that's ongoing, we're going to be getting delivered that same hour. Okay, and so that mirrors up and goes back to Lot getting delivered from Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, it doesn't say the word hour, but here, when you come here for day, you see that it's been translated to time. Okay, time. So if you take out day and put in time, that same time. All right, and I think that that's a little more clear, because you say that same day. Well, I mean, it could be separated by up to 24 hours. Okay, separated by 18 hours, 12 hours. No. Remember, going back to Genesis 19. And 16, and while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, because they were with him, and Yahweh being merciful unto them, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. When Lot still hesitated, because they had already been telling him that he needed to hurry, but he was still lingering. He was still taking his time, right? Not that he was dilly-dallying. He just was trying to do things, convince loved ones to come with him. I don't remember. I don't really know everything he was doing. It's not that he was just lollygagging, but he didn't quite grasp the urgency of it. Okay? See here? And that's why they told him. The angel hastened Lot. They were hurrying him up. Okay? And at dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. Okay? Hurry up, Lot. Lot, pick up the pace, Lot. We got to destroy this place, and we can't do it till you're gone. See, so that all is setting the stage to show you that the destruction came right on the heels of them leaving. Remember, they were the place was destroyed where they were in the plain or the field. So it was that same hour, man. That's what I'm showing you, and it's going to be the same with the second death, because this destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah is all a picture and a foreshadowing of the destruction of America, Babylon the Great, on a much, much larger scale. One quick precept for that, Isaiah 13. And 19. And Babylon, which is America, Babylon the Great, the glory of kingdoms, it has been, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, not so beautiful these days though, shall be, but it has been though, shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Same manner of destruction. Okay? Only thing is, to a much, 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 much larger degree. And instead of the elements just being supernaturally formed in the atmosphere and raining down fire and brimstone, that's where you bring in this Isaiah 54 and 16. This time it's going to be by thermonuclear missiles. Okay, smith. Behold, I have created the smith, meaning a workman, that bloweth the coals. You see over there in NLT, blacksmith. That bloweth the coals in the fire, because they're making something. And that bringeth forth an instrument. The instrument that's being brought forth, or has been brought forth, is the thermonuclear missiles. Short range, intermediate range, the long range, which is the ICBMs, and now in this day, the hypersonics. You got the mobile launch platforms, you got the land-based silos, you got the submarine launch ones, all of that. That's the instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to do what? Destroy. This is talking about the missiles. The Most High put the spirit on the Edomites, and he gave them the desire, he gave them the will, he gave them the expertise and the knowledge and the ability to create these missiles, all the different various types and launch platforms, and they did it. And now those are the Most High's missiles. Now he's going to use it to destroy them. Just like, if you remember back in the day, your mother or your father or something like that might tell you, boy, go out in the yard and get a switch. Okay, go out in the yard and get a stick. Go out in the yard and get a rod for me to whoop you with, because you did something you weren't supposed to do. But you go get the rod. They ain't getting it. The Most High made Esau build his own rod, and that he's going to burn him with it. Burn him and his kingdom with it. Okay, that's what's going on here. So when we go back over here, I'm done with that. Let's get back over to the. We don't need that either. Let me do it this way. Then I didn't know so many. Genesis 6 here. Okay. Yeah. Noah found grace in the eyes of Yahweh, because Noah's deliverance and salvation is a picture of the deliverance and salvation of the elect in this time. Okay. That was the first death. This is the second death. Much greater sense of urgency with the second death. Okay, yet shall the righteous scarcely be saved, just like Lot was scarcely saved, and his daughters. His wife would have been saved, but she looked back. Okay, now let's drop down a little bit more. The earth also was corrupt before the Most High, and the earth was filled with violence. The earth is corrupt today. Okay, the scripture speaks about in Revelation 11 chapter, the 18th verse, those that the Most High, it's time for the Most High to punish those that destroy the earth. And not only is the earth corrupt, but like it said up here, all flesh is corrupt, right? Let me see here. Did I miss it? Or maybe it's coming up. Oh, yeah, verse 12. And the Most High looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And come on, man. I just heard something today that while everybody's all eating up all the salacious details, like the AI dude said about the Berenstain Files and all these other distractions, so many distractions. This is just a big one. It's a big one, but there are other big ones, and there's a lot of mid-level ones and lower level ones. You got distractions all over the place. So while everybody's looking at the Berenstain Files and all, and all this over that, being hypocrites, right? While they're eating up all these salacious details, I heard Elder Apostle Ariamlab say that something, and I don't know all the details, but I heard enough to get the gist. Something along the lines that the food, and put that with the D and put that with the A, okay, F and with the D and with the administration, that they just passed something where it's now permissible, or will be permissible, either is or will be, something along these lines, permissible to put the M to the R to the, not D, but the NA on our food supply. Don't you know that these things, this is the same thing they had in those shoulder pops, okay? And what does that do? It changes your DNA. It affects your DNA. Okay, that right there would put a big fat Crayola crayon checkmark box in the checkmark in the box of corrupting all flesh. And if he's, hey, look, that's a finishing move. He's already doing all kinds of things. Okay, human flesh is corrupted and tainted today. That's what I'm showing you. Okay, but that's not what I'm focusing in on. And the earth was filled with violence. Okay? And the Most High said that to Noah. The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence. Is the earth filled with violence today? Man, come on. Come on. Okay? Haven't you been paying attention to what they're doing here? All right, I'm not going to play the video again. All right, but come on, man. There's also eating them. Okay? Drinking blood. Okay? Adrenal. All right? What they call that? Google Chrome. Okay? Drop the Google. Okay? All right, put it with the adrenal. Okay? Ture to the TURE. All right? Including the BABYs. All right? Okay, all of this, man. Or BABYs, the BABIESs, whatever, right? Come on, man. All right? But look, that's just one example out of a sea of examples. You getting violence, what I just told you about them putting on our food, that's major violence. Because you got to understand something. The violence is not just physical violence, although the earth is filled with physical violence as well. Yes, it is. But that is on a smaller scale. Even though the earth is literally filled with physical violence, that is on a much smaller scale than the actual violence, which I want to say actual violence, but then the other type of violence. Because this is not just talking about physical violence, although that is a big part of it. It is talking about physical violence, but it's not only talking about physical violence. It's talking about another type of violence as well. Okay? Here's the Hebrew word. Violence, wrong. So somebody does you wrong, that's violence, man. Cruelty. Somebody treats you cruelly, violence. Injustice. Okay? You're supposed to get justice and you don't get justice, it's injustice, that's violence. Okay? Look at it. Violence, violent, cruelty, wrong, false. These are all the words it's been translated to. Because it's talking about all of this. Oppressor. Somebody's oppressing you. That's violence. Okay? Let's click on the word here. The root word. The root word. All of the meaning of the root word is wrapped up and included in the meaning of the word that comes from it. So violence, wrong, cruelty, injustice. But let's get a deeper understanding of what this word means. Let's click on the root word and it's going to be put plain for you. Okay? To wrong, okay, yeah, not just to, beat you up or kill you or hit you with a weapon or something, not just that, to do you wrong, do violence to, treat violently, do wrongly, to treat violently, do wrong, a physical wrong, yeah, we know that, everybody already automatically thinks about that, but it's not just that, of ethical wrong, a physical and ethical wrong. There's a lot of physical violence all around the world. But as much physical violence as there is all around the world, there's a whole hell of a lot of more ethical, moral wrong. There's a whole hell of a lot moral and ethical wrong than physical wrong and physical violence. A whole hell of a lot more moral and ethical violence than physical violence. And there's a lot of physical violence. Okay? Moral and ethical violence as well as the physical violence. Tell me that this world isn't full of both. All of that, okay? We're in the time of Noah all over again. The time we're in is just like, if not worse than the time of Noah, all over again. But the Heavenly Father who destroyed the world with water back then isn't about to destroy this earth now with fire this time, okay? So I just wanted to set that stage and I'll ask you a question. Why is the world today filled with violence? But before we answer that question, why was the earth back during the time of Noah filled with violence? Because the whole world was corrupted by the ways of Cain. It's very important for you to go check out part 4 because these are spiritual things you have to understand. I'm just going to give it to you. If you're having a hard time with it, you don't see it, check out part 4. Esau, the forefather of the biblical Edomites, before he was Esau, he was Cain. And before he was Cain, he was the serpent in the garden. Okay, I broke this down in a little bit of detail in part 4. So if you're hearing that and you're like, what? If I break it down all again, then it's just going to make things too long. Check out part 4 to get more detail on that. I'm going to just mention it. Reincarnation is biblical. Okay, Matthew, the 11th chapter, verses 13, 14, and 15, the easiest place to see in the Bible, in the scriptures, that reincarnation is biblical because Yahweh Shai Mashiach, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls Jesus Christ, he says it straight talk, plain speech. No parables, no dark sayings, no metaphors. He just comes straight out and tells you. If you can receive it, okay? And if you can't, then you're not going to see it anywhere else because it's everywhere in the Bible. From Genesis 1:1 in the beginning to Revelation 22:21, Amen, with the Apocrypha included. It's all throughout the scriptures. And you have to understand reincarnation, the true biblical doctrine of reincarnation, not the perverted doctrine, which has been perverted by the heathen, not that. Okay, the true biblical doctrine of reincarnation, or you will not understand the scriptures. And that's why it's very key to understand that. That's why I went into that a little bit. It's a key to understand that because you won't understand the scriptures without it, and you won't really grasp what we're getting into because these are a little bit deeper. You got to understand that before Esau was on the scene as Esau, he was Cain, and before he was Cain, he was the serpent in the garden. The serpent in the garden was a flesh and blood man. Check out part 4. I went into more detail, okay? I'm going to build on that now. I'm not going to go through all of that over again. I'm going to build on it now. Okay, the reason why the earth was corrupted and all flesh was corrupted and the earth was filled with violence is because the ways of Cain were saturated upon the earth. Okay, the ways of Cain had polluted the whole earth. That's the reason why. Okay, because the earth was filled with violence. Well, who's the violent man? Okay, the earth was filled with violence. Okay, well, all we got to do is just go back to Genesis 3. Okay, the earth was filled with violence. Well, who introduced this violence to the world? Okay, not Genesis 3, Genesis 4. Okay, who introduced? Well, hey, it was introduced in Genesis 3 as well. But that's the moral and ethical violence, and it brought death into the world. Let me get your precept on that. Okay, but I wanted to show you the physical violence because people more grasp that concept. That's more gripping to people, right? But Genesis 3 is an example of moral and ethical violence, okay? And I'm going to show you that right now, okay? For the Most High created man, all mankind, all the nations? No, the Israelite man. All you got to do is read it in context. For if the just man be the son of God, that's the Israelites. That's the chosen seed, the chosen lineage, the sons of God, which would later be known as the nation of Israel. That's who it's talking about. Okay, not all the nations. For the Most High created man to be immortal. Because if it was all the nations, then why are these men here, the ungodly, okay, whatever nation that is, what nation you think it is, man, it's the Edomites. Then why are they jealous? Because they're created to be immortal too then, right? No, they're not. That's why they're jealous. That's why they hate the sons of God. Because the sons of God are created to be immortal, but they're not. And for that matter, none of the other heathen nations are either. Only the Israelites, only the sons of God are created to be immortal. That's why they hate the sons of God. That's why they are jealous of the sons of God. For the Most High, if they were created to be immortal as well, then none of this would apply. Okay? For the Most High created man, the Israelite man, to be immortal, and we are going to be immortal in the kingdom, and very shortly, and made him to be an image of his own eternity. The Most High made the Israelite men, to be an image of his eternity. We are his sons. Nevertheless, this is what we came for, through the envy of the devil. It's not talking about spiritual demon Satan, man. Spiritual demon Satan is a spirit. Okay, all right. This is the devil here. Is these ungodly up here, which are clearly men. Okay. Nevertheless, through envy of the devil came death into the world. That devil is talking about is the serpent in the garden, which is a flesh and blood man. That's the whole context here of men on the earth, right? And that this devil, which was the serpent in the garden, was Cain before he was Cain, and Esau before he. I kind of said that clumsy. That was Esau before he was Cain and before he became Esau. The same spirit that was in Esau's body, making him who he is, was the same spirit that was in Cain's body, making him who he was the same spirit that was in the serpent's body, making him who he was. It's the same man, the same person, just in different flesh. Okay? Reincarnation. All right? It's Esau 3 times. First time he was here, he was the serpent. Second time he was here, he was Cain. Third time he was here, he was Esau. It's the same man, the exact same man, just in different flesh. Okay? And he was envious. And because he was envious, he did what he did. That was a great moral wrong. Deceiving Eve and using Eve to get the man to go off. That was the only way it was going to work. He knew that. He did it. It worked. Okay? And he brought death into the world. And they that do, because he was envious, and they that do hold of his side do find it, right? So I could use that Genesis 3, but I meant to get to Genesis 4, okay? Everybody knows about Cain and Abel, right? Okay? And let's get verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, okay? Love thy brother, right? Okay? Treat thy brother as thyself, right? The second greatest commandment, okay? Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I'm paraphrasing, right? Love Adonai Yahweh with all thy heart, mind, soul, and strength, and thy neighbor as thyself. The second greatest commandment is like unto the first, right? The Most High takes it very, very seriously how you treat your brother. Very seriously. You don't forgive your brother, neither will the Father in heaven forgive you. Okay? The Most High takes it very extremely seriously how you treat your brother, right? Well, how's Cain treat his brother? And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. Why'd he kill his brother? His brother must have did something wrong. No, his brother was righteous. His brother did what he was told to do. His brother did what he was commanded to do. His brother did what he was instructed and taught to do. And Cain, since he didn't do it, he hated his brother because his brother's obedience and faith and righteousness highlighted and showed his lack of faith and his wickedness. And because his brother was righteous and he was wicked, he killed his brother. Whereas he could have repented, technically, on paper, he could have repented. Instead of repenting, instead of getting right, instead of following his brother's example, he killed his brother. Because that was the only thing he could do. He can't do righteously. Okay? And key point, after he killed his brother and then he got his okay. Oh man, it's a lot here. I'm gonna resist the temptation to get into more. Okay? After he got his protection, which was to be stripped of his melanin, because all nations were melanated, all nations were brown skinned, right? Different shades. After he got his protection, so that everybody would know this is Cain, okay? Because he's the only one going around with no melanin, okay? All the other nations are different shades of brown, even today, okay? He said, well, no, not those European nations, and what about the Australians? What about those Russians over there? They're all Edomites, okay? And he has the dew of heaven from above and the fatness of the earth, man. Come on, understand? You can get with the program, okay? So after he got his protection, so everybody would know that that's him, and nobody would do anything to him, then what did he do? And Cain went out. He bounced. He left. So Cain left Yahweh's presence. He was born in the truth. He was born in the righteous way. But once he did what he did, he was wrestling with the temptation, and then he succumbed to the temptation, and then he got his judgment, then he got his protection, and then he was like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. And Cain went out from the presence of Yahweh and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. So Cain left Yahweh's presence and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Okay? I'm out. Okay? I want nothing more to do with this. Okay? Keep that in mind now. Let's go to, let's look at this word. Let's look at Cain's name. What does his name mean? Okay? Okay? His name, okay, is not really going to give you too much here, but it is here. Notice the Assyrian script, okay? Now you got to ignore the vowel points though, but actually you don't have to ignore the vowel points. Really shouldn't be there, right? But you don't have to ignore them in this case because it tells you that it's the same as, look at the root word, the same as H7013. 7013 and 7014 are the same, identical. Go ahead and look at it. Look at the vowel points too. It's the exact same word. Exact same word. Why do they split it out into two listings? I'm not sure. Maybe to throw you off their trail. Okay? It's the exact same word. And it even tells you that. The same. Not similar. Same as 7013. H7013. It's the same word. But I think they're just trying to hide. They're just trying to throw you off their trail. Right? Because if you come down here and you look, it tells you right here, look at that. The first thing they put you got number 1 and you got number 2. Number 2 is Cain of the fracture side, son of Adam, whatever that means. Okay. Number 1, a spear, a piercing, stabbing weapon. That's literally what his name means. Okay. But they don't want to put it up here. You want to know that, you got to click here. You either got to read the fine print or you got to click on the root word, which a lot of people won't do. And it tells you right there, spear. His name literally means piercing piercing, stabbing weapon. That's what his name literally means. And what did he do? Cain went out from the presence of Yahweh, and I meant to say, I already highlighted that point. I meant to highlight this. Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. Let's look at Cain's name a little bit more. Okay? Because I'm showing you that the ways of Cain and his descendants had filled the earth. That's what brought the flood. All the violence, moral, ethical, and of course, physical violence. Okay? This was Cain's way. And it had completely and totally polluted and dominated the earth. It's the same today. Okay? Look at this. Look at this. It says Cain equals possession. It actually means spear. And they showed you that. Okay? Eldest son of Adam. And his name is actually used in the scriptures as spear. Okay? Let me see here. It tells you that here. 2 Samuel 21:16, it has his name there, but it's not him. It's talking about a spear. Okay? But they don't put it here. I think they're just trying to throw you off their trail. You got to, you go to the other one. Let me show you that real quick. Here it is. And you'll see it listed there. There it is. And Ishba-Benob, which was of the sons of the giant, the weight of whose spear, that's Cain's name, weighed 300 shekels, but it didn't talk about Cain. It's talking about an actual little spear. His name literally means spear. It is the word for spear. Okay? So coming down here, eldest son of Adam and Eve, and the first murderer, having murdered his brother Abel. This was his way. The physical violence, and you got to know that the physical is always just a manifestation of the spiritual. So if there's physical violence, then you're going to have moral and ethical violence as well, on a greater degree, to a greater extent. Okay? Okay? He's the first murderer, which directly ties into St. John 8:44. Ye are of your father, the devil. He's talking to wicked Israelites here, but he's saying that their father is the devil. This is the same devil we read about in Wisdom of Solomon, the 2nd chapter, at the end of the chapter. Okay? And how do we know? And the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning. He was a murderer from the beginning. From the what? Beginning. In the beginning. Okay, yeah, that's a beginning. And then what's it say over here? Okay, again, one more time. Cain was what? Cain was what? I hit the wrong. Here it is. Come on now. I hit the wrong. Come on now. How'd I get over to Genesis 3? Come on, man. You slowing my road. Mess me up. Come on now. Cain was what? Oh, goodness gracious. Slagia, man. I'm messing this all up. All right. Let's try it again. Cain was what? Okay. All right. Let's try it again. Cain was what? Goodness gracious. Rookie mistakes all over the place. Oh, man. There you go. One more time. One more time. There you go. Cain was what? The first murderer, having murdered his brother Abel in the beginning. Okay? In other words, you go to the beginning of the record, you go to the beginning of the account, the beginning of the book, the beginning of the Bible, and the very first murderer you run into is Cain. Okay? So then when we go back over here to John 8:44, okay, because we need a little bit more than that. Not really, but okay, if you do need more, okay? He was a murderer from the beginning. Cain fits that. He's the devil. And abode not in the truth. If you abode not in something, then what does that mean? You don't stay in it. Okay? You don't stay in it. To abode means you stay, you dwell, you live there. Let's see here. There it is. To cause or make to stand, to place, to put, set. To place, to make firm, fix, establish. To cause a personal thing to keep his or its place. Well, he didn't keep it. He didn't keep it. To continue safe and sound. He didn't continue. Okay? To be of a steadfast mind. He wasn't. Okay? To place, put. I think the best one here is, where was it? Let me see here. To be kept, that B1. To cause a person or a thing to keep his or its place. He didn't keep it. Okay? He kept not his place in the truth. He had a place. He was born as the first son to Adam, who knew the ways of righteousness, who had the understanding of the ways of Yahweh Shem Shah. The laws were oral back then. The ways of the Heavenly Father were oral back then. And Cain and Abel were taught. That's how Abel knew what he was supposed to do, and he obeyed because he had faith. Cain, who had no faith, he did whatever the fuck he wanted to do. And then when he was checked on it, he didn't want to get right, because he could have gotten right and he still would have been accepted. The Most High told him through the prophet. But no, he don't want to do that. Not only does he not want to obey, but he doesn't want to be corrected either. And furthermore, he wants to kill his brother who is doing it right. And he did kill his brother. He was the murderer from the beginning. And then what? He abode not in the truth. And then that's why it's important to point out that Cain, once he got his protection, Cain went out from the presence. He abode not. Hey, if the presence of Yahweh isn't the truth, then I don't know where it is. So Cain left Yahweh's presence and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Okay, he was like, I'm done with this righteous stuff. I'm done with I'm done with the ways of Yahweh. I'm done with it. I'm done with this truth. This isn't my thing. I'm not into it like that. Okay, obviously. Okay, I didn't do it right, didn't want to do it right. When I was told that I should get it right, that I should stop doing wrong and get it right, I'm not with that. That didn't float my boat. What floats my boat is killing my brother. That floats my boat. That excites me. That makes me feel good to kill my brother. I enjoyed that. Okay, after all, my name is Cain. My name is Spear. My name literally means a piercing, penetrating, stabbing weapon, which goes into my violent tendencies. Okay, my violence. Violence is in my blood. My name is Cain. My name is Spear. Okay? I'm showing you that. Yeah, well, we need some more. Okay, let's come down here. Cain, one of Cain's descendants was Lamech. And Lamech said unto his wives, these are the descendants of Cain. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding. What does to my wounding mean? Well, the NLT says, I have killed a man who attacked me. Sounds like that's self-defense. Yeah, it would be self-defense if that's what it meant. It don't mean that. And a young man to my hurt. Let's see what the NLT says there. And a young man who wounded me. Again, it sounds like self-defense. But it would be self-defense if it meant that. It doesn't mean that. For I have slain a man to my wounding and a young man to my hurt. Okay, let's look at some of these other translations, because some of them make it a little bit clearer. Okay, let me see here. You see here the DBY, for my wound, and a young man for my bruise. Okay, what does that mean exactly? Okay, most of them. The majority of them go with that wording where it would seem to imply that it was, or state that it was self-defense. It wasn't self-defense, okay? All right, that's not correct. Look at the WEB. For I have slain a man to my wounding and a young man to my hurt. That's more pointing you in the right direction, okay? For my wound, even a young man for my hurt, okay? And those are the only ones that really points you in the right direction. And then you have one down here that says it pretty good. I think it's the BBE. No, not the BBE. BES. That's the one that really is telling you what this is talking about. And Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Salah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Consider my words, because I have slain a man to my sorrow. In other words, I killed a man, and it's going to cause me some suffering. It's going to cause me some problems. And a youth to my grief. I killed a man and a youth to my grief and to my sorrow. So it's going to cause me trouble because I killed them. Okay? It wasn't self-defense. It wasn't justified. And the next verse makes that plain. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold. Well, wait a minute. You don't avenge somebody who was justfully rightfully put to death. Like self-defense, somebody kills somebody and they were defending themselves. You don't avenge that. Okay, I mean, people might, but that's not a proper. Hey, they were defending themselves, man. Everybody has a right to defend themselves, right? So if Lamech is bringing up being avenged, somebody taking vengeance against him, or somebody avenging the man that he's killed, then that's telling you right there it wasn't in self-defense. It was not a justified killing. It was a murder. Okay? Let me see here what the word for slain is. Yeah, harag. To kill, slay, murder. Okay? Okay? Murderer. Okay? So it was not a justified killing. That's the reason why he's concerned about vengeance being taken on him. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. In other words, what he's saying is, I ain't really got to worry about it. Okay? I ain't really got to worry about it. Okay? That's what he's saying. I ain't really got to worry about anybody doing anything to me. So perhaps, it's a little unclear what he meant by for my wounding. I have a hard time believing that that he was feeling sorrowful about it. Okay? But maybe he was. Whether he was feeling sorrowful about it or whether he was just simply saying, this is going to bring me some problems. But then he consoled himself and says, well, I ain't got to worry about it because Cain has the protection sevenfold. And look, I got 70 times sevenfold. Okay? In other words, I ain't got to worry about it. Okay? I ain't got to worry. I killed this man and I ain't got to worry about it. Maybe I feel a little sorrowful about it, or maybe I think this might bring me some grief, but I ain't got to worry about it. Okay? What I'm showing you is that the ways of violence are in the DNA of Cain and his descendants. All of them. They are the violent, bloody nation. Okay? And so when we get over into Genesis 6, okay? And that's the end of it, right? It gets into Adam, and bringing forth Seth and all that. This is the righteous line. This is the righteous. This is the chosen lineage, right? That's what it's getting into in verse 25. But and it leads off from the wicked seed, the wicked lineage in verse 24, and goes to the righteous seed, right? But what we find here in Genesis 4, you got two murders. The first two murderers. First one was Cain. Second one was his fifth descendant. Okay? Was this his fifth? Let me see here. Cain, Enoch, Irad. Let me see. Cain, 1, Enoch, Irad, Mahujael, and fifth one down from Enoch, from Cain. Okay, and they were murderers, man. And so when you get over into Genesis 6 and the Most High says that violence is filling the earth is filled with violence, that's the ways of Cain and his descendants polluting the earth. And that's why the Most High brought the flood. And along with that was the moral and ethical violence and the corrupting of all flesh. And that's why the Most High destroyed the earth with water, the flood, the first death. And just like it was back then, it is that way now. It is that way now in the right here, in the right now, in these days. Is just like it was in the days of Noah, telling you that we're in the time of the return of the Son of Man, Yahushua Mashiach, which is simultaneous with the second death. And that makes sense, because if it's like it was in the times of Noah and the Most High destroyed the earth back then with water, the Most High doesn't change. Okay? Every good and perfect gift cometh down from above, from the Father of. Now I got to get it. James 1:17. I'm just telling you, the Most High doesn't change. If he destroyed the earth back then for being filled with violence and for all flesh being corrupted, then what makes you think he isn't going to do it now? It's the same thing now. Okay, he doesn't change. Every good and every perfect gift is from above and coming down from the Father of lights. I just wasn't sure if that was the word lights. With whom is no variableness, no variation, no varying, no changing, neither shadow of turning. He does not change. So if he did it back then, he's going to do it now. The only thing is, he made a covenant with all flesh that he wouldn't destroy the earth again with water. He said nothing about not destroying the earth. He just said he wouldn't do it with water. Why? Because he knew he was going to destroy the earth again. This is all already set. This is already planned. He's already spoken. It's already done in the physical realm. It's already done in the spiritual realm, I meant to say. We're just living it out here in the physical realm. We're living it out in time in the physical realm, but in the spiritual realm, when he spoke it, it was done. Okay? So he already knew that. That's why he promised not to destroy the earth again with water. Said nothing about not destroying the earth. He already knew he was going to destroy the earth again. This time with fire. He didn't change. So if it's like it was, if today, right here, right now, February 14, 2026, it's like it was in the days of Noah, then you know he's getting ready to destroy this earth again, this time with fire rather than water. And if he's getting ready to destroy the earth with fire rather than water, then you know also that it's the time of the return of the Son of Man, because those two things are simultaneous. And you know it is. The earth is indeed filled with violence. And if you see all the physical violence in the world, then just know that it's much, much more moral and ethical violence than that. Because the physical violence is just a manifestation of all the spiritual, moral, and ethical violence. Okay? It's like a person who has a horrible diet and they got all kinds of parasites inside of them, and that causes all these zits on their skin. Okay? And you know, these eruptions of impurities in their body underneath the surface, erupting on their skin and putting the pus and nastiness out on their face and other places on their body. Okay? That's the evidence that things are not clean inside that body. So if you see it on the surface, that being a metaphor for the physical violence, then how much greater are the impurities underneath the surface inside of the body, which is a metaphor for the moral and ethical and spiritual violence. If you follow my metaphor, my parable, my metaphor, my similitude. Okay? The moral and ethical and spiritual violence is much, much greater than the physical violence, which is great in its own right. So definitely we're in a day which is just like the days of Noah, which means it's time for the return of the Son of Man, which means it's time for the second death. That's the time we're in. Okay? Let me see here. I think that's it. We're over an hour and a half. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I did not get this. There's going to be another part because we still got to go from here back to Wisdom of Solomon 2. I meant to say 12, and then back over here to show how, because see, these are the ways of Esau, Edom, and the whole earth was polluted with it back then. And then Esau, Edom, he wasn't in rulership back then, but the earth was polluted with it back then and corrupted with it back then. And then he got into rulership as the Greeks for the first time on any level. And evils were multiplied in the face of the earth. 1 Maccabees 1:9. And then he was in rulership. He rolled right into rulership as the Romans. And same thing, no need to say it again because it's the same people in power. Okay, all manner of wickedness on the earth, persecuting the chosen seed, persecuting the Israelites, right? Then they went down, Revelation 20th chapter, okay? And then they were down for 1,000 years, and then they came out. That's kicked off the Renaissance, and they went out deceiving the nations of the earth, and raping, robbing, and pillaging, conquering with the sword, colonization, just like Mr. AI was talking about. And that brings us to the here and now, and this man is a violent, bloody man, and that's why the earth is filled with violence today, and all flesh is corrupting itself. Again, okay, spraying that DNA altering concoction. Okay, I'm just using general words on our food, and that's just the least and the latest in a long list. They've been doing all kinds of things, running experiments on the American population for decades, if not centuries. Come on, man, please. This is the violent and bloody man. Okay? And he just, only thing is, when they were wiped out, all the nations were wiped out except for Noah. The righteous lineage, the righteous seed, the chosen lineage was preserved through Noah, just him and his 3 sons, right? All the nations of the earth were wiped out. Only the chosen lineage was preserved, and then through the chosen lineage, through Noah's 3 sons, all the nations came back. So Esau, Edom, he was off the scene for a little while. So he had to, basically start all over. Okay. And while he was off the scene, somebody else picked up the mantle. Somebody else picked up the baton and ran with it for a while and kept it nice and warm for him when he got back on the scene. Okay, and that would be the Hamites. Okay, the Hamites took over for Esau. Okay, and we're going to get into all of that. But then when Esau showed back up on the scene, he said, "Thank you very much. I'll take back what's mine." But he did, and that's why, he continued. That's why, basically just like he departed from the righteous way when he was Cain, he did the same thing when he was Esau, and that's why he took those Hamite wives rather. Right? And from those Hamite wives, okay, and also being linked up with the Hamite men, okay, he reconnected with his ways. Because when all the Edomites, they were not called Edomites at the time, but they were all wiped out, well then, that was the end of that, right? But Ham, the Canaanites to be specific, they continued that. While Esau was off the scene, they continued it. And then when Esau showed back up, he took it back up and he got it back from them. And Cain was, and the Canaanites was like, well, we kind of like it too, so we're going to keep doing it too. But it was really Esau's thing. Okay, and Cain, the Canaanites, they kept doing it too, but it's really, they were keeping it hot and keeping it warm for Esau. So when Esau showed back up on the scene, he took those Hamite wives, and he reconnected with his ways. Okay, and he just ran with it from there. Which brings us to the here and now, and this is the reason why the earth is filled with violence today, and all flesh is corrupt today. Same thing, okay? Okay, we're all tainted. We're all tainted in some way, okay? Eating defiled foods, which are getting more and more defiled by the day, as we speak. Okay, this man is going for the gusto. He's the violent and bloody man. Okay, we need deliverance and salvation. All right, so there'll be a part 5. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Before I do, want to give all glory and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shabbat, Kodash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and respect to the brothers teaching and pushing this truth out to 4 corners of the earth. I don't want to that's what's edifying and encouraging to you, Achim, and any Achwaf that may be listening and or watching. Ayashmi Akwana, Azanyim Lashamai Shemai. Let him who has ears to hear. Kwam Yasharala, Baba Kusha, Abad, Babal Etha, we'll call Adawam. Shalom Lahabachayim, peace to the elect. Shalom.